Hey everyone, and welcome back to ASK Beauty and More. I'm Stacy, and today's video is a dupe or don't on the new Makeup Revolution Iconic Vitality palette versus Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. Okay, so for starters, I will show you the palettes side by side. Okay, so here is the Modern Renaissance palette. And here is the Makeup Revolution Iconic Vitality palette. As you can see, they look very similar. Okay, now the packaging is definitely different. The Modern Renaissance palette definitely is heavier and feels more sturdy, luxurious. The Makeup Revolution palette is very lightweight, has thin, kind of flimsy plastic packaging, but it's only $7. $42, $7. So for me personally, all I really care about is how the shadows perform. If these shadows perform well, then I would pay the $7 for these shadows and this packaging over the $42 for these shadows and this packaging if they perform as nicely as the Modern Renaissance palette. Getting into how they perform, I am wearing one palette on one eye and one palette on the other. This is my right eye and this is my left eye. I'm not sure how it shows up for you guys, but this is my right eye and this is my left eye. So can you guess which eye has which palette? Comment down below with your guesses, and at the end of the video I will tell you which is which and show you the shades that I used. So if you can tell a difference in the shadows that I used, it is very minor. However, when you are applying the shadows, the shadows in the Modern Renaissance palette are intensely pigmented. You can just barely tap your brush in here, and then you still have to tap off the excess, and then you go in and you get full color payoff instantly. However, it's not that big of a deal that they're so intensely pigmented because they blend so well. With the Makeup Revolution palette, it does have really good pigmentation, especially for its price point. However, you have to build the shades up. So you may use one dip in the Modern Renaissance palette and have to use 3 dips in the Makeup Revolution palette. But with that being said, they build really well, they blend really well, and the finished result is very hard to see a difference in my opinion. I have not used every shade in this palette. I have only used maybe half of them. I'm using 5 shades today. Also, the Modern Renaissance palette has 14 shades and the Makeup Revolution palette has 15. There is a dupe for every shade in the Modern Renaissance palette plus a black. So if you love a black shadow in your palette, I know for a lot of people palettes are not complete unless they have that black shadow in it, then this is definitely a good palette. Now I'm going to jump into some swatches so you can see how the shades in the Makeup Revolution palette compare to the shades in the Modern Renaissance palette. Okay, so the top roll is the Modern Renaissance palette, and the bottom roll here is the Makeup Revolution palette. And as you can see, these swatches are very similar. This is Vermeer from the Modern Renaissance palette, and it is a little lighter and more pinky peachy than the Makeup Revolution palette. And the shade Love Letter is a little deeper, more on the purpley side. And this one, the dupe shade in the Makeup Revolution palette, is more pink, like a hot pink almost. And there's a little difference in Venetian Red. This one is just a little deeper than the dupe in the Makeup Revolution palette. And then, of course, the Makeup Revolution palette has the black shade that the Modern Renaissance palette does not have. But other than that, all of the other shades are almost identical. Okay, so as I think you were able to tell from the swatches, the Makeup Revolution Iconic Vitality Palette is a really good dupe for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. The only real difference is the couple of shades that I pointed out and mentioned in the swatches, and the pigmentation. The pigmentation of the swatches was almost identical, but when I was applying them to my eyes with brushes, the Makeup Revolution palette went on a little less pigmented than the Modern Renaissance palette, and I did have to build those shades up a little to get the same results out of them. But with that being said, I think it looks very similar. So I'm going to let you look at my eyes again and take one last guess before I tell you which palette is on which eye. Okay, have you got your guesses in? Well, if you guess that this eye, my left eye, was the Modern Renaissance palette and my right eye was the Makeup Revolution palette, then you would be correct. In the Makeup Revolution palette, there are no shade names, but in the Modern Renaissance palette, I used the shades Warm Taupe in my crease, and I used Red Ochre on the outer third of the eyelid and blended that into the crease a little. I used Primavera on the inner 2/3 of the lid, and I used a Love Letter on the bottom lash line and Cypress Umber on the outer third of the bottom lash line. I was pointing to this eye, but this palette is on this eye. And then I used the dupe shades from the Makeup Revolution palette on this eye. So I think that this is one of the best Modern Renaissance dupes that I have tried. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you have the Makeup Revolution palette, the Iconic Vitality palette? And if so, what do you think of it? I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. And that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure and give it a thumbs up and click subscribe down below. I would love to have you all as a part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at ASK Beauty and More. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.